Hi everyone, welcome to ST Skills weekly system design series. This week we have Shreya presenting on Draft. It's one of the consensus algorithms in the Paxos family. So I will let her talk about on this topic. Shreya, please go ahead.
Yeah. um, so my name is Shreya, and I'll be talking about Raft. And basically, we will be talking about the need of Raft and in which cases do we need Raft and replicated state machine, and in the architecture, where can you see Raft working? And then we'll go from the happy scenario to the problems that we'll be facing, and there is a visual that I'll be showing you so that you'll get a good idea how RAF works. And then we'll discuss the algorithm. And then there is a not a problem, but like people will have question about how like the things will work, and we can go from there basically. So let's get started. So the first topic is like Raft is a consensus algorithm, as we all know. So what is a consensus? So consensus is basically, in simple terms, agreement. So if you have a cluster of nodes and they all want to come to an agreement, right? That will be called as consensus. So where will we need that kind of consensus? For example, there are three nodes in a cluster, and one node says, "Hey, the client has sent me certain request, and it tells me that the value of A should be 3." Then it will tell the other two nodes about it. And the other two nodes should agree, like, okay, yeah, the value should be 3. And then that will in turn come to consensus, whether they come together and they say, okay, yeah, we should update the value, or we should not update the value. That will be consensus here. So the basic application of it is replication. So in replication, we have this scenario of where we have multiple replications, but we'll consider only leader replication today. And in leader replication also, we have synchronous, asynchronous. So in synchronous, there are some problems. In the async also, there are some problems. So what are the problems? Let's see first. So if I have three nodes, S1, S2, and S3, and there is this client who says, hey, update this value A to 3. And if I say that my S1 is leader, and we are talking about synchronous replication here, what S1 will do is it will send the same value A equal to 3 to S2 and S3, and it will wait for response from both S2 and S3 that these value got updated. And now, if for example, if S3 is down, then it will wait forever or until the time S3 comes up to give response back to the client. So that's a problem. In the async, what will happen is we'll say we don't depend on our fellow nodes, and S1, which is our leader, will send requests to S2 and S3. Um, what will happen is here, client said A is equal to 3. S1 will say, yes, I have updated A is equal to 3 and return a success. But now my leader itself is down and it couldn't replicate the values to S2 and S3. So that's a problem in async. So we go with the third approach, which is semi-synchronous, where we'll make sure that our majority of nodes, basically more than 50%, have replicated the value to solve the problem. And Raft uses something similar, basically similar. It uses exactly semi-synchronous replication. So for semi-synchronous, we need consensus of two things basically here. One is what will happen, but let's see first in the semi-synchronous scenario. I'll have these three nodes again. My client has sent request, make A equal to 3. It will go to first server, and my server will send these information to its fellow nodes. And what we'll do is we'll just wait for the majority. Either of if S2 or S3 returns the response, we will say, for example, let's say S2 returned a response here. We'll say success to client, will not wait for S3 here. So what consensus we got to see over here is that the value, basically the response that we are returning to client is now dependent on the majority of the nodes here. And the other thing where we'll see consensus is, for example, this leader went down. Let's say S1 went down and not S2 and S3. Then in between S2 and S3, now who will be the leader? That we have to come through, right? So for electing that, there will be consensus. So is there any question in all these things? Yeah, feel free to ask.
How is the leader elected, Shreya? I didn't get the second part. Like what consensus is taking?
Okay. Actually, we'll go to in a little bit later. I just told like this scenario will use the consensus.
Oh,
So if I have to explain a little bit more, what will happen is this S2 and S3 are now the only two nodes. And among these two, if we want to elect a leader, there will be some consensus. So in draft, what will happen is basically this S2 will become a candidate. So they'll have a timeout. That's what it's a little bit in brief, like in
sure.
deep. So
If
I'll
you're
just
trying to
explain
cover,
later. Yeah.
sure.
Okay. So why draft? So people would have already heard of Paxos. That is an algorithm for consensus. In fact, it goes like a synonym that, okay, if you're talking about consensus, we are talking about Paxos. But it was very difficult to understand. According to the research paper, the researcher himself took like almost a year, and he finally ended up developing Raft, which he could understand and explain it to people easily. So the whole basis of Raft was understandability. Even when they had like a sub problem to solve or a problem to solve, they always decided on which one is easy to explain to people and people will be more intuitive about it. Yeah, it should work. So that is the whole basis of Raft. It is somehow similar to Paxos, where uh, only few things changes. Like in leader election, draft is like very much like there should be a leader, whereas in Paxos there is no leader. It's all like leaderless kind of consensus. Also, in draft we use this timeout for election, whereas in Paxos there is something called as priority or ranking. So I'll not go much deep in Paxos, but wherever I can give you like a difference that how Raft is different than Paxos. Okay. So to understand that, the Raft is basically can be shown through replicated state machines. And to implement a replicated state machine, we need they are implemented with replicated logs. So how can I prove this theory? So we know, right? We read in automatas that if my machine is in some empty state, and if I give it some command, for example, A is equal to 3 and B is equal to 4 and C is equal to 6. So then if I apply command A equal to 3, my machine will go in some state Q1. And here I'm talking about state machines basically. And if I execute the second command, which is B equal to 2, my machine will go in Q2 state. And if I execute C is equal to 6, it will go in Q3 state, and so on. So one thing I know about state machine is it is deterministic. By deterministic, it means if I have certain commands And if I give all the state machine these commands in same order, it will always reach to Q3. That was always, we can know like what is going to be the state of a machine at a state of multiple machine at a point, given the logs and the order in the logs is same. So if I have state machine S1, S2, and S3, and I provide these logs to S1, S2, and S3, basically these are replicated logs in all the three machines. At any point, if I check for this time, if these three logs are executed, the state will always be Q3, right? So this is a proven theory. We'll use this similar theory in Raft. So Raft says is that as long as the commands inside my logs, so these will call commands like each individual entry. So as long as these commands are in same order, I can say my state machines, wherever these commands are executed, are in same state. That means we can say that it is replicated. So now how a typical architecture would look like. So let's assume this is my server where I have a key value store. Let's take an example of key value store that I'm going to maintain in memory. And this is my app server running. This is my Raft module. And these are the logs that Raft is going to maintain. And I'll put one here to represent this. This is the first instance. Okay. And this is the second instance. And this will be the third instance. And it will all have Raft and its logs. And this is my leader. Now I have a client, and my client says that put value of X to 3. This is my first key value pair. So what it will go is it will first talk to the app server. In app server, we basically, which will call Raft first, and it will say the user has sent me certain value. Please replicate it to like other of my fellow machines. So it will first put X:3 here, and this is uncommitted stage. Okay, and then it will send the same value to app2 and app3. Here I'll be talking about the happy scenario first, and then we can go on with the problems. Then in this Raft, it will also put X3 and will return response to Raft, leader Raft, that okay, I have this value now. And same will happen at app3. And all these places, these values are in uncommitted state. As Raft receives these response that both its or majority of its fellow nodes have replicated the value, it will return success. App will return success. Basically, it will first commit on its end that this particular thing is committed, return success. App will return success, and it will tell all its fellow, this will be the first communication. The second communication will be, now, hey, now I have also committed the value. You all guys also commit this value. So this will how the this is how interaction looks like. So any questions here?
So
The last part once.
Yeah, I'll go. Is the Raft log of leader different from his followers, or is it the same? Because it also has to maintain what it replicated.
It can be different, definitely, because that source of truth is always the leader, and there will be scenarios where the value might be different, but for the majority of nodes it should be same, the replicated values.
The values is fine, but it also has to maintain this status thing, right? Like how many of its followers it replicated and how many it has to send, commit, and all these things. So is
Oh.
it also maintained in the RAP flag, or like is it maintained by some other coordinator?
No. So it is like a different call. It's called append entries. We'll come to that. So leader has certain things that it needs to save, but it's not. It states something similar. What you're talking about is called match index. So basically, till where it gets matched with the follower. But I don't think so. Leader keeps some certain extra value, like okay, till where I have, till what values I have replicated so and so, because it always sends these heartbeat kind of things called append entries, remote procedure calls. And there it always sends, okay, I am on this term and I am on this index, whether or not there is a new entry or not. The followers always know what leader is on, and if they are not on the same state, they return false. So
Okay.
that is the part of algorithm. Yeah.
Makes sense. Thank you.
So I didn't remember. Sorry, go ahead.
Can you say again, when would the response send back to the user? Is that like
Okay.
before the committed by app 2 and app 3, or after the commit?
Yeah, so okay, I can explain that. So what happens is, whenever it is committed to leader, then it will return success. So this, if I'm saying that this is step 4, our first step was to send the replicated logs, and then this step is second, that it is committed. Then returning success to app is step 3. And app, actually user generally interacts with app, right? It will not interact with Raft. So this will be step 4. Okay. And then it will send the fellows nodes that you also committed. So this will be step 5. And
So
go ahead.
I assume like you will go into the details of how it will guarantee that 50% and all, right? Like later in the algorithm.
Yeah.
Yeah. If others also have questions around that, like maybe we can just park to see till like she explains the algorithm. Then I think we may have better idea and discuss on the questions.
So I have a question about the step 1. Like in the step 1, are we just writing it to the log and that's it?
Yes, we are just writing it to the log. That's it. It's called uncommitted entry.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. If that's it.
And in the step 2, what happens is like we commit the entry to the log or to the actual state?
No. We actually committed to the log first.
Okay.
That's called committed. Yeah, I'm going to come to that. Like there are multiple, and then there is another state called executed, when the value is actually executed in the app. So now X will be added to this key store value. So this step is called executed. This is the next step, 6th step. Okay. So basically there are 3 type of entries every time. These 3 entries are uncommitted. That means, why it is called uncommitted, I'll tell you. So this no leader, when it has saved the value X equal to 3, it doesn't know that it is going to be replicated on all the majority nodes, right? It doesn't. So that's why it writes to itself, but it doesn't know whether it will go to majority. That's why we call it as uncommitted.
So when it says committed, that means like has it got some kind of heartbeat from the followers that they're ready to commit?
Yeah, so in committed state, what will happen is, as you can see, it commits to itself. Basically, it has received response from majority.
Okay.
It knows that it is
Mm.
replicated to majority. As long as we are okay to, we know that it is replicated to majority, we are okay to commit to ourselves, because we know that we can then bring our fellow nodes, whoever are down, or even if the response needs to happen or consensus needs to happen, it can happen with majority nodes, right? So our system will work correctly.
Yes, yes. Yeah, now I think when I said like response from the majority, that clarifies some of the questions. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
then there is third state, which is executed to app. It's called executed, and that means it is now changes are reflected in app as well. So this is the third log entry.
Okay.
The app in this case is like a database engine.
Yeah, database engine. I'm using a key value store app, which is like an in memory. It is storing the value in memory. So that is also. I mean,
Any,
yeah, it could be database as well.
okay.
Yeah.
The actual store. Okay.
Yeah. So now let's talk about like crashing one of our fellow nodes and how will it. Did I already tell like how it comes together? It catches up? No, right? So what now? Let's introduce a problem. The first problem is our follower crashes. Before that, I was thinking probably I can show you the visual. So maybe let me explain follower crashes and then I'll show you the visual. So follower crashes. So what will happen is, let's assume I have 3 machines, S1, S2, and S3. And this was the leader. And everyone was happy because leaders were sending requests uh, and the followers were sending response that they're okay and everything was fine. And suddenly S3 went down and we had logs from, so indexes are important because we want to always maintain like what logs are. So, and on the 10th index, basically our S3 crashed and it couldn't commit. Whereas on S1, on 10th index, the value is 4. In S2, on the 10th index, the value is 4. And S3, on the 10th index, there is nothing. Now, let's assume for time 30 minutes or half an hour, my S3 was down. And these logs have reached somewhere up to 40. So the current index is 40 and the value is 20. So here my current index is 40 and the value is 20. Here it is still 10 because like it was down, right? Now it comes up. So now my S3 is up and now my S1, when it will send request, right, to S2 and S3, what will happen is S2 will send okay for 41th index, put 21, it will put 21, this will put 21. S3 will be like, how can I put? I don't have that index because I am on 10. So S3 cannot tell that what I am at, but it will just respond false, that something is wrong with me, do something about it. And what S1 will do is, it will say, okay, probably you don't have that previous, there is a concept of previous index, we'll come to that on in the algorithm. So what happens in previous index is it will store which index was its previous. So for leader it is 40 and for this it is not 40. So it says, okay, maybe try 30 value for 39. So it will send this value 39 for S3 and it will be like, no, it's still not okay with me. So it will send 38 and 37 and up till the time when it can reach 10. And from there, our S3 will catch up all the values and then can store 41, 21 here. So this is how it catches up. There is a way to optimize this process and not have these 40 to 10 like a decrement call, but we'll come to that in algorithm. So this is what will happen when follower crashes.
This process is to commit, right? Or like for the uncommitted thing also.
This process is to replicate logs. It could be committed, it could not be committed. So if we will talk about S1 and S2, right, their logs will be committed until 40th because there is a majority. Okay, but here when it will be 41, we cannot say right now it is committed, but it will be committed for sure after a certain time.
Mhm. So I mean, like, does the app wait for this process to happen, or like?
So app
Let
will
me
be
come in
working with,
here.
yeah, app will be working with S1 and S2.
Mhm.
And when S3 catches up, the S3 app can also start working.
Oh, but again, I think maybe that will be discussed in the algorithm, right? Because we have to have the consensus for it to be consistent, right? Like if both S2 and S3 are not in the proper state, then app might not get the response, I'm assuming.
If S2 and S3 both, actually every time majority will be in the proper state, right?
Oh,
That
Yeah, of the 3 nodes, like 2 or like 50% or greater, right? So I think
will
that's
always be in proper state.
okay.
Yeah.
50% is the consensus here always. Yeah.
More than 50% because we are talking about majority here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I have one question. So how does leader know S3 is back? So who sends the first attempt? Is it S3 or
No, it's
lead?
always leader. So
Okay.
leader sends these heartbeats.
Mhm.
It's so let me explain that. So there is something called as actually let me explain elect leader. Probably that will clear your question.
Yeah, sure.
And
Mhm.
just come back to it. So elect a leader. That's when will happen is when leader crashes. So now we are assuming leader crashed. So we have these nodes S1, S2, and S3. Everything was working fine. This is my leader, and our log entries are at certain point X, and my leader crashed. Now what will happen? So we have something called as timeout, which is random, and the value lies between some time t to 2t. And how this t is decided is it should be greater than the broadcast time. So why this t needs to be greater than the broadcast time? So when I say broadcast time, the broadcast time between leader to its follower, like how much time it takes. So let's say if it takes time t1, this t should always be greater than t1 because my leader is sending these as heartbeats as well. These heartbeats, right, which are basically t1 takes t1 time, right? And if my S2 and S3, if they time out before the T1 time, there is high chance that they will always time out even if the leader is alive. And if I'm not clear on this, like please feel free to ask this question. Okay. So T is greater than T1. This we will have to make sure. And now we know that there is a timeout on each follower. So how it works is, since S1 is supposed to send heartbeat in every T time, basically in every, for example, let's say 5 seconds. So my S2 will reset its timeout. And then once it resets its timeout, it knows that the leader is alive. So leaders keeps on sending these heartbeats to let people let its follower nodes know that okay, I am alive. But as soon as these heartbeats, because now leader is down, so those heartbeats will not be sent. So S2 and S3 knows, okay, I am not getting this heartbeat, I have timed out, it's time to become a candidate. So S2 and S3, there will be some timeout happening here. And whoever times out first, because this is random, right? So for S2 and S3, for example, let's say for S2, the random time was 160 milliseconds, and for S3, it was 180 milliseconds. So obviously S2 will time out first, and it will become candidate, and it will ask for vote from S3 and S1. And since S1 is down, it won't return anything. There will be no response basically, but S3 will return vote and S2 will become the leader now. And this we can see, like I have this visual that should explain. Let me know if you can see that. Hello?
Yes, yes, we can see that.
Yeah, so I can start this from the beginning. So example, these are my nodes, S1, S2, S3, S4, S5. And right now, no, this is the initial state of the system. Nobody is a leader, but these solid half lines that you're seeing, these solid half line circles that you're seeing around the orange circles, these are our timeouts. And this is random. Okay, so now if and these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 above are the indexes, and S1, S2, S3, S4, S5 are the log entries. Okay. So now I will play, and this timeout will happen. And looks like S3 is going to time out first. So look, S3 is timed out first, and it is going to send these requests to vote to all its fellow nodes. So it's sending these green things are request. It's sending the request. So now what happened here was, before S3 could send request, S2 also timed out. So it also became a candidate. So it will also send request to vote. And the general principle over here is each node is only allowed to vote only once. So for example, if S1 is requested for vote, it can only vote for either S3 or S5. And in Raft, we guarantee that. And also the other thing is, if S3 has requested for vote first, S1 cannot say, no, I'm not going to vote for you, I'm going to vote for S5. It will always return like, okay, I vote for you. So this response is expected. And once S5 sends the same request to S1, because now S1 has already voted for S3, it won't vote for S5. It is same thing like how we do in general, that if this is the term election happening, and if I have to vote, I can only vote for one candidate. In real life, I cannot vote for multiple in a single term, right? So that's how it's going to work. So now, as you can see, the solid black line around S3 shows that it has become a leader. And now it will keep on sending these heartbeats. So these are heartbeats because we have not requested any information. Client has not done any request. So as you can see, as soon as these raw orange bubble goes to the different nodes except S3, their timeout gets resetted. This was the timeout I was talking about. So that they know that the leader is still awake and you don't have to become a candidate. Now let's see how replication happens. So I'll send a request.
One small question here. So how is that one vote guarantee is done?
Oh, it's the principle. Like if you have already, so it's the algorithm that if you have voted,
Okay.
you cannot vote again, because you will always store this candidate ID that you have voted for. Okay. So yeah, so let's see about how the request works. Let's request again. And see the first value, and this dotted thing shows it is uncommitted. This is uncommitted stage, and it is only replicated on S3. Now S3 is going to send the same request to all its fellow nodes. So it is all uncommitted in this stage. Now S3 will tell it to commit. So that is the second process. So it will commit to itself first. because leader needs to have the commitment first, because every time we are going to look up, we're going to look up at the leader. And then it will send these requests, and now it all got committed. Now let's see what will happen if our leader is down. So let's say, let's bring it down. And now see, now there is no heartbeat and this timeout is going on. Now we'll have a new leader here. So S2 timed out first, it became a candidate, received the votes, and now S2 is the leader. Now what I'll do is I'll request certain requests from S3. And since, S2, and since S3 is down, it won't be replicated on S2. So let me make some requests and let's see how S3 catches up. Now, as we can see that S3 is left behind, the last updated index was 3, whereas all have reached to 6. So let's bring S3 up now. So now S2 will know, because it keeps on sending this request. S3 will return false, that I am not on the same index as you. So now S2 will help S3 catch up, and this is how it's going to catch up. Any doubts here?
What are these values in the circles? Like earlier it was number 2, now it's number 3.
Yeah, these are basically to understand, okay, this will be the request. So 2 is, as you can see in the logs, right? It was the first request. So if you are going to request, that's the number that you're going to see in the log.
Isn't it term?
No, it's not term.
What is it? Why is it like multiple times the same thing? Like why are we not incrementing it and keeping it the same?
It's the visual, like I can't help it. Like I cannot create that request. If I could, I would. But if you can think in this way, that if it would have been a term, it would start from 1. Term will always start from 1, right? And it will move from 1, 2, 3. If you want to understand the term, this blue color, that is the term. That is a single term. Then the pink color is the second term. Because when it was blue, we had a different leader. When it was pink, we had a different leader. So these are the terms.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
It's just the value, right? In the key value, it's the data, actual data, right? 3 or 2.
Yeah.
Hey Shreya, one question. So when S3 comes back and when the leader is trying to make it catch up with the old values, during that time, so the way visualization showed up, is it that the request to the other nodes will be on hold?
No. Never. If request to the other nodes will be hold, what will happen is there is timeout. So leader always have to send these heartbeats. For heartbeats, what happens is it doesn't have a different mechanism. There is no different mechanism in Raft. It uses the same remote procedure call that it generally uses to invoke, like in order to replicate log entries.
So
I think so. I had I just want to complete one related question here. That heartbeat concept is fine, but is there a possibility that when S2 is helping S3 catch up and sending this data value 3, can another request come in from client? Because this is more like internal, right? That S2 is trying to make S3 catch up. That's more of a system level, thing going on. But client can client submit another request, and then how will it be like? Then how will S2 behave? Let's say I send another request to process, right? Like number 4.
Yeah, I understood your question. Yeah, that's a possible scenario. And if that happens, then S2 is always sending these requests, right, to all the fellow nodes. It will keep on sending that. Extra thing that will happen with S3 is in the log entries. So it is a set of values. So it will append that extra value from client.
I see. Okay.
So and just to answer this question once more. So basically still we had other nodes available, right?
Yeah.
And they have up-to-date data. So still our client request could be satisfied.
Yeah, that is true. I was just curious about, will it be sending multiple requests to S3? Like if I just focus on S3, because it's doing two operations now. It's trying to make it catch up. Plus it also wants to send the new values that client is sending. So will it be sending in two requests to S3, or will it be like
No, it will be one request, the
one
same
request?
that it is sending everyone. Yeah. But only thing is in the log entry, there will be one extra, not exactly one extra entry. It will have some extra entries because it needs to catch up.
Yeah.
So log size will be a little bigger.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And
Yeah.
for
So who would determine when S3 is fully back and can now be able to respond to the user?
Yeah, so there is something called as last log index, and that is something we can determine by that it is like has fully catched up.
My second question is like, why we need to make the timeout random? Because even if the timeout is not random, it still work, right? Because each node only allows you vote one.
Yeah, pretty good.
once.
Yeah, like let me explain. So if I say that timeout for everyone was 5 milliseconds, all will time out in 5 milliseconds, right? And now all will send request to each other for vote. And what happens in voting is it will vote for itself first, and then it will ask for vote. So the chances are that everyone will vote for themselves and nobody is going to vote for anybody else.
Mm.
And
Yeah, kind of a deadlock, right? Yeah.
there will be no leader. So
Mhm.
that's why we have a random time.
And here for on that right block diagram that we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2 and 3 are the state values at particular time or something, right? So what is that 1, 2, 3, 4? Is it the T that we discussed in the whiteboard?
Index, you can consider it as index.
And
I think that 1, 2, 3, 4 is a log index, or like in this case, like 6 is the last log entry, right? In
Yeah.
each of those nodes.
Yes.
Whereas the 3 and 2, is it depending on who is the leader, or I don't know.
The value 2 and 3, that is the request value. That is not the leader.
Okay, request. Okay, request value. Okay, got it. Mhm.
Because if we think in what you said, S2's value is 3 right now. So and the leader is not 3, right? It's S2.
Yes, correct. Mm.
So this is like a pretty good way to understand. Another thing, if you are really interested to know this there is this really nice visual.
I can only see white screen.
Oh, is it?
I'm able to see.
I'm able
Yeah, I think I can
Okay,
also
then
see.
it's my problem.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Mhm.
Okay, there is this nice visual, the secret lives of data. It considers all the edge cases. So, I mean, you should go through it. Yeah. It is something that I'm already explaining, but it will like clear, like, because visuals are much more pretty, right? So you will be able to understand very nicely. So this is one thing.
Shreya, these packets they are traveling, they are like UDP packets, or like what are those we are sending, like those small orange balls moving around?
Yeah, those are requests. So
Okay.
I didn't see it if it uses UDP or TCP protocol, but I think it waits for responses. So I think it should be TCP.
Yeah, maybe if it's using RPC, then I don't know if I think RPC uses TCP.
Yeah, I'm not sure though. So yeah, somebody else has can answer.
Are you gonna talk about the uncommit later?
Yeah, uncommitted, I actually kind of showed, but uncommitted is the state where, you know, the values are not committed. Basically, the thing that it is not replicated to majority. So I actually spoke about it. Let me bring up the whiteboard. The 3 state that are possible. Probably my hand.
Yeah, I'm sorry, not about uncommit, but about rollback.
Rollback. There is no rollback as such. So what will happen in some cases will be that the value, for example, if there is a network partition, network partition is not a good case. Maybe probably I'll talk like that. So for example, there is this S1, S2, and S3, and something happened, and the values are something like 2, 3, 3, 3, and value is 2, 4, 2, 4, and these are like these are the values right now. Okay, so now what will happen is, since this 3 is out of sync with 4, right, and we're not sure how this got, basically assume that this is the case and how this value come up, and we see that this is the leader. So what will happen is, when they'll say, okay, this put 4 over here, it will say that I already have 3, so there is a conflict, and it will return something like false. And then client, because leader is always right, what you will do is you will append this entry 4, and you will remove all these values. Basically, you will delete them from your logs. So there is no rollback as such, but you always consider that leader is always right, and you override the value, your values.
Shreya, why is leader broadcasting the same value again and again?
In the visual?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it is made. I mean, I haven't seen like, I don't know about that, like why it is sending the same.
So in generally system, heartbeats are used, right, to know among the fellow nodes that who is the leader, who is alive. If we don't send this heartbeat, how will we know?
But these
that
are
there
not
is a
heartbeats, right? These are values, key values, the values for some key.
Yeah, these 2, 3, they're asking like why 2 is twice and 3 is 4 times.
Okay, so in heartbeat, are we? I think we are sending empty log, right? When a client is not requesting anything, then the heartbeat just has empty data. Is that right? Or
It's right. It's right.
so yeah, so then we are just sending empty data, and same heartbeat, same function call. When a client is requesting data, then that empty value is filled with that data, and now we are sending that data as part of that heartbeat call.
I mean, even if the system, let's say our system is holding like 1,000 key value pairs, which value it is gonna send in heartbeat?
In heartbeat, empty. It will be empty value.
Yeah, the log entries will be empty. Basically,
But
Then
yeah,
what will be in these indexes like S1? Like what we will hold in those positions?
in S1, they are the log of raft. That the whole block is the log of a raft, and S1, S2, S3, S4, S5. You can assume there are 5 instances of raft.
Yeah, but generally in the log we put one value only once, right? Like this is the value for like this is an operation, we write it, then this is a next operation, as we discussed in the whiteboard, right? We keep for maintaining the state machine, we keep what operations that we did, but these don't look like an operations, right?
I think probably.
Can you show one simulation in Secret Lives? I mean, like just to clarify, folks.
Yeah. So actually, I think I understood his question. So basically, it's not like that. If I put x equal to 1 first and then x equal to 2 next, then it's not the same operation, right? First value of x was 1 and then it became 3, right? So in the logs, it will be appended. It is always append only logs. It's not like we are overriding the logs. Logs are of type append only. So I don't know if that got you confused.
My question was like, why is it being done multiple times for the same value? Like 3, 3, 3, why are we writing it for 4 times?
It can send any request. If it is 2, 2 again, or 3, 3, 5 times.
So they are not heartbeats then?
No, No, they're not heartbeats. How can they be heartbeats?
Yeah.
Anything, if you're thinking like if it is heartbeat has empty logs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the question was
Um,
curious about
so
why did they give an example with repeated data, and
yeah.
the was changing per term, right? It was like 2 per first term and then all 3 per second term. So
Hmm.
that was a bit confusing. If it is like just the data,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, maybe they are just repeating the data. That's my thinking, but yeah, the example was a bit confusing. Yeah.
So if the value is getting overwritten, and in the meantime, if one of say S2 or S3 goes down, like a candidate, like will it still catch up with the old value and then come to the new value?
I didn't get the question. What?
So say X was 1, right? And 1 was getting written on all of these S1, like the servers or the Raft servers, but one of them went down. And in the meantime, X became 5. So what happens now?
So, what is the value on leader? We'll always see that.
So the value on leader is 5, but then like the server which went down, it never even got the old value. So will it first get the old value and then catch up with the new value, or
Yes.
it directly jumps to the new?
No. It will always catch up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
dependent.
So are these like, I mean, like I don't work in this area, but like just as a basic question, like, is there any concept of like a read and write? Like, will the read calls like always go to the leader, or does it go to candidates? Because in that case, it would get a stale value, right?
Yeah, true. So the write values goes through the leader. The
Correct.
read values can go to anyone.
Okay.
Okay.
So then how do we maintain consistency?
No, I think that read will go to leader, right? Because we are saying leader is the source of truth. So you can always read from leader and give the latest value.
But that's a lot of overhead, because there are generally more read calls than write. So if we are putting everything on the leader, then like I thought that was the entire point of distributing, right? Because
So here the point is replication, so that your data is durable. You're not losing your data. But if and all want strongly consistent model. If you are okay with not having strongly consistent data, then there are other models. But here, because the requirement is strongly consistent, and also we want to replicate data so that it's not lost. So that's why we would have to do this.
so all the read and write calls hit the leader then.
Yeah, according to me, in Raft everything goes through leader.
Oh, okay.
But this is what I think. Am I wrong?
Shreya, do you have insight on the read request?
Yeah, I got confused. I read the whole
Yeah, I mean, like if it,
in everyone.
so generally, like when we say leader based application, yeah, I mean, like the reads definitely go to the slaves. I mean, like the other follower nodes also. So only the writes is the part of the main leader. So, I mean, like what I'm thinking in this case is if the nodes which are trying to catch up, they may not be serving read requests till they catch up, at least.
Okay.
That could be one way, but because we always have scenario of majority of the nodes having the latest value. So until the follower catches up, it can stop serving the read request. That's what I'm thinking. But
Okay.
Keeper, the write happens through the leader and the reads can happen through any of them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is eventually.
But yeah, but then the point is you will not, you can get stale data, or otherwise I don't know how it will be managed. Either you should know which followers are up to date, which followers might have stale data, those problems. Otherwise, if you are not, and I don't know if
Is
yeah,
that
I
a
think in this,
consensus? It use consensus for the read, right?
but then if it is asking for consensus, then it will be done by leader, right? Then anyways you're sending a request to leader, so why not directly ask from leader itself?
yeah, I
If
think
you want to
asking
maintain
leader,
consensus,
yeah,
you
I mean, like,
have to talk to leader.
yeah, that is correct. But like if all read requests also go to the leader, then definitely it is not scalable. So yeah, even leader may not be able to serve all the full read traffic, because most of the times read is too much read traffic. And in this case, I agree that since leader is not clearly maintaining the state of each follower state, I mean as such, there is a chance that if the read goes to any of the followers, and if the follower is just came up after some crash, then there is a likely chance of reading stale data. So, but I don't know if there is some fix or some getaway with this.
I read in the research paper that it always, like, if the request even go to the client, it reroutes it to the sorry, if the request either go to the follower, it reroutes it to the leader. So I don't know if that will happen in the case of read as well. I was thinking it will just happen in the case of write, but if we think this scenario, I think it should happen in the read case as well.
Yeah, I mean, if I think the most, I mean, the candidate who knows that they're out of date, because if the node which just came up, if it listens to the heartbeat of the leader, it knows that is definitely lagging behind, right? Or at least one request from the leader, it definitely knows it's lagging behind. Maybe any read request coming to that node, it can redirect to other followers or leader.
Yeah, it doesn't show the information of other followers. Probably it can just reroute to the leader.
Leader, yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think we have discussed this in book club also, but and I have used it. So basically, in some systems, they will provide two APIs that read from leader and read from follower. So if you are okay with reading stale values and you have a lot of read requests, then you will call the API read from followers. So it will read from followers, which is scalable because you have multiple followers and the request will be divided. But in some scenarios, if you want to read the most accurate data, then you will call the API read from leader, and that will read from leader and it will return you. So that is the decision that the client has to make, that the leader read request will not be very scalable. So you should not overburden your server with a lot of leader read request. And so, yeah.
And in terms of Zookeeper, there is also an option of a push, like rather than every time the client polling to the Zookeeper server that give me the value of this one, you can also register a callback. So whenever the value gets changed on that server, you get a callback on your code.
Yeah, but in draft, we don't, we need not use Zookeeper, right?
I think they use, according to the research paper, yeah, Zookeeper uses Raft.
Yeah, I mean, Zookeeper uses, I mean, I meant the vice versa.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. Because Zookeeper definitely needs to use, because it definitely needs to reach to consensus, because that is why all systems fall back to Zookeeper just for the scenario of consensus. Because I mean, not everyone wants to implement that, right? And Zookeeper is a proven consensus solution, so they use it.
Are we talking the CAP theorem here? Because it's we'll have to compromise either on consistency or availability, right? So if you are saying I don't want stale data, then you are saying I cannot compromise on consistency. And if you're okay with the, I mean, if you want to be strongly consistent, then your availability will be take the hit. If you want availability to be high, you will get stale data, and that will eventually get consistent, right?
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's correct.
So we cannot solve, I mean, the CAP theorem says we cannot solve that problem. So you have to take one hit, one or other hit.
Yes.
I don't think Raft is also solving that problem here.
No, Raft is mainly for the problem of consensus. So if you see the scenarios of where all Zookeeper is used, so those systems implement behind the scenes either Paxos or Raft protocols. So this
Yeah.
is like one of the mechanism to achieve consensus.
Mhm.
So yeah, because we always use Zookeeper or an equivalent system which relies on this Raft or Paxos kind of protocols. So to achieve consensus, so we always know that like our systems always have this reliable data, like in this case the majority. And yeah, with respect to availability and cap theorem, yeah, that is always there. But I think the idea of Raft is mainly to talk about consensus, how we achieve and what kind of different problems it solves.
Okay. So the consensus, okay. Okay. So using the consensus, we are responding back to the right.
Yes. Yeah. Now she explained like how Raft fixes the single leader application using that consensus. So like if we have a Zookeeper attached to the single leader kind of application, I think maybe it solves all this kind of problems.
Okay. Yeah, I was a bit confused. Like we were talking about how do we solve the stale data problem was
Yeah.
to look at the leader versus followers, right? Like that's not the core thing of Raft. Yeah.
Yeah. So specifically, one of there are I think 2 or 3 examples Shreya presented. One of the main problem is choosing the leader itself. If the main leader goes down, so that itself can be done using Zookeeper. It can simplify because it implements Raft kind of protocol. So yeah, I mean like to solve those kind of key problems. So or reaching anywhere you have an agreement issue between multiple nodes, then like this consensus algorithms like Raft or Paxos are used internally.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Yeah, I believe she started with that actually.
Mhm.
The leader is one of the consensus problem, and like responding, when to respond is another consensus problem, right?
Yeah, and to respond to like success or fail to the client.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
So yeah, let's go through this secret life of data. So let's say we have a single node system. It's self-explanatory. I'll not have to talk much. This is
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, if you have time, you can go through, or if you have other contents, maybe we can just.
I think after this, I'm just going to talk about the algorithm and then log compaction.
Okay.
So this is our single node, and it stores a value. And we also have a client. The green one is a client. And if you guys see that if I can just do continue and like the speaking is not important, let me know. And then the client is sending this value 8 to the server. And now you can see the server has this value 8. Now with one node, the consensus is simple because it was just one node. We sent 8 and then it was okay. Now we have 3 nodes. Now how do we come to consensus with these multiple nodes? So now how we are going to implement distributed consensus. Yeah, the nodes can be in one of the 3 states: the follower state, the candidate state, and the leader state. So the leader state we have already discussed about. He's the person, like that is the person who take cares of everything, like make all the decisions, what to send, what not to send. Follower is like the follower, like it will just accept whatever is coming from leader. And candidate is the state where the follower will become the candidate because it knows that now there is no more a leader. So this talks about that. So now right now all our nodes starts in the follower state, and if they don't hear from a leader, they become a candidate. So the dotted one became the candidate first, and it requested for votes from the other nodes. And since nodes have given their vote, now we have a leader, the solid circle one. And this is called leader election. Now all the changes to the system will go through the leader. So let's see what client has to send. So it sends 5 to set 5. And these things will be replicated to the other nodes, and initially it will be in uncommitted state. And now it has replicated to its follower nodes, and it has received the response that it has been replicated. Now entry can be committed on the leader to set the value as 5. So now that there is this 5 in the circle, and now same response will go to the fellow nodes, and the entry is committed. So now this is the process where we have come to a consensus about the state machine, like they all should be in the state where the value is set to 5. And this process is called log replication. Now leader election.
Response back to app.
Sorry?
Did we miss the response back to app in the previous step?
No, it was not shown here.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are two timeout settings, one which controls election, and the other one is, I think the one which resets. One is when the election timeout happens, and the other one is in general the timeout of the nodes when it gets resetted when there is a heartbeat from the leader. So the first is election timeout. So the election timeout is the amount of time a follower waits until becoming a candidate. So we already discussed about it.
So this is the heartbeat timeout, right? Election timeout, it said the time it waits to become a candidate. So that is same as heartbeat timeout.
And then heartbeat timeout. And this timeout is basically there, nobody has heard from leader. So this timeout will happen. And
so that was the heartbeat timeout, right? Because
No, I think this is the before when the leader crashes and the other nodes tries to become the leader, and they will wait for this timeout.
okay. So now they have not heard back from leader, and now there is a different timeout to become a candidate, right? Okay.
And so example here given is 150 milliseconds to 300. So I gave you, right? I told you, right, it is between T to 2T. So here T is 150 and 2T is obviously 300. And now the process goes and be timed out first, and it has become a candidate and will ask for the votes. And the request procedure is called as request vote. And yeah, the important thing is that each node votes for itself whenever they become a candidate. So now it has requested for vote, and they've received the vote. And now the candidate with majority votes has become a leader. So node B is our leader. And as you can see, the important thing to note here is term. So this is term 1 going on, because before that we had no other leader. And they will also store this value voted for. This will get to know in the algorithm as well. And they'll store the candidate ID as the value for voted for in order to know whom they voted for in the current term. Now this is the append entries. Now this is the heartbeat timeout I was talking about, the second timeout, that it will keep on resetting as they'll get heartbeat or append log entries. Basically, they will be same thing as per the algorithm, but yeah. So they respond to append entries, and so this process will keep on going on unless our node B crashes and it stops sending the heartbeat, and then node A or C will know that now it's time to become a candidate. So now they're going to stop the leader and see the re-election.
I don't know how many more examples are there in this.
Actually, one example example that I know of, let's go to that quickly.
Okay,
That
okay.
network partition, and it
Mhm.
will, or yeah, we can talk about split vote actually. So now, actually, I told about split vote. I think we can skip that. If you want to see in the visualization, we can see the split vote example. So now they have 4 nodes. I think this is a good concept. We can see quickly. And they have these, the 2 will time out together and will send the request to vote. So B and C got timed out together, and now they have asked for vote. And obviously they'll vote for themselves. So 1 vote they've got. And now what is happening is node A voted for C and node D voted for B. So now the votes are 2 and 2, which is equal. And now since now both the nodes have got equal votes, both will think they have not received the majority because it's not more than 50%. So nobody has won the election for this term, and there will be again timeout.
Okay, so this is the election timeout, that if someone is not able to become leader in this much time, then we will start a new term, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now log replication. I think the good example, we can skip all these simple examples. We can go to network partition. That was a good example. Yeah, so this is the network partition example. Here we can see that we have 5 nodes and we have leader as B, and B is sending all these nodes. Now there will be a network partition and the nodes will be divided into 3 and 2. So now CD is in one partition and B and A are in another partition. Now B is in his own world that, yeah, I am still the leader. He's sending just these requests or basically heartbeats to A. And whereas C, D, and E realizes, okay, we don't have a leader because we haven't got a heartbeat. So let's do a election. And now C is the leader there and it's working fine. Now that is why we have 2 leaders. Now the client, we have the scenario where client will send request to the B and B will send it to A, but it's not a true request. It's should not be replicated to all the logs, and it's not possible also because
Yeah, it would fail right anyway, even
would
if
fail,
it
right?
goes.
It will not reach the consensus of majority, right? So now node B cannot replicate to a majority, so it log entry will stay uncommitted for both B and A. And other client will set the value of C to 8, but C will be in the majority, so that value will be committed. Now this will be a succeeded one, and now let's heal the network partition. So basically remove the network partition and bring the cluster together. So now what will happen is node C and B both are leader up till now. So what will happen is they'll send the append entries to both each other, and node C will see the term number basically, which is term 1, which was term 1. It got updated. I'll tell you, like it was term 1 before, and then it will see, okay, it is coming from a long lost leader. I am not listening to him, and it will just discard that value. What will happen in node B's case when it will receive the append entries from node C? It will see, oh, it is coming from higher term. That means it's my time to step down and become a follower. So node B will turn into a follower and leader will be C. And the uncommitted entries will be removed and leaders log will be matched with the node B and node A. And that is like how the cluster will become consistent. So yeah, this was an example that I wanted to show.
So during the network partition, B and C still serve read requests to the client, to the user.
It cannot, right? Because it was just 2. So, and consensus would have reached in majority, which is basically at least 3 values, right? At least 3 nodes, right? So it will never respond to the client.
It will never respond success to the client.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go to the whiteboard. And now let's talk about the algorithm. So I have divided into like few parts. So this will be the initial state. You can see my screen, right?
Yes, we can see.
Yeah, so this is the initial state, and this will be the persisted values, basically. The current term, as in which term is going on for a particular logging. So the term will represent which, like how many times the elections has happened. So if it is first time, then the term will be 1. And if the election has happened twice, the term will be 2. Okay. And the initial state is basically when the system has just rebooted and everything is set to initial state, then the term will be 0 because there has no election happened. And then voted for is the candidate ID that received vote in that current term. And if you have not voted for anyone, that value will be null. And log is the log entries, that is basically the commands for state machines. And this will be sent by, these logs will be sent by leader. And in the case of followers, these logs will be the value received by leader. Okay. Then it is volatile state, which will keep on updating. So that is commit index, that is till where we have the highest log entry, where we have committed the values. And last index is the highest log entry applied to the state machine, basically the values that are executed in the app server. Then these extra variables, these are just for leader. The value is next index. Basically, it will know where to put the next value in. So it is also like can be calculated as last log index plus 1. In match index, it will store for each server. It should basically be a array. So like for all the followers, what is the last match index it has? This is the optimization we can do. You remember when I talked about how the follower is going to catch up, it's going to decrement the index each time. But if the leader keeps, okay, this follower was matched only up till index 2, so next time if I have to send entries to it, I have to send from 3 to whatever the value is, so that it can match up till from there. So this match index is used for that. So what are the remote procedure calls used is to basically append entries and request for vote. So append entries is also used as heartbeats, but only difference will be that these logs that are shown, they will be empty. This variable will be empty for heartbeat. That's the only difference. And everyone starts as a follower. And these are the 3 states that we talked about: follower, candidate, and leader. So if follower is there and if there is no heartbeat received by the follower, it will become candidate. And if it wins election, yeah, so that's it. Now let's go to append entries. So this is the first remote procedure call. In append entries, the important arguments that are going to be, I think probably I can open this page, are term, that is leader's term, and leader ID, because if the request comes to a follower, we have to redirect it. Then previous log index, as in to know like which entry was done previously, and previous log term as well. And why this is important is in the case of partition, right? We saw that the term didn't match. So we should know like what is the previous log term in order to make the logs consistent. And leader's commit index, till what value leader has committed. And the response will always be in terms of true and false. And how receiver is implemented, that I have, so if leader term is 3 and previous log index is 5, then what are the possible cases that can happen? So first case is if term is less than current term. That means if the follower is not in the same term as the leader and its value is less than current term, then it will return false, that saying that I have something wrong and do that for me, like match me up with all the other people or with yourself basically. The second case is previous log index is empty and term is equal to, and term is one behind basically. So previous logs index is empty, or we can say previous log term is is not correct or is behind. In that case also it returns false. And the normal operation would be if everything is fine, then you append the new entries. And the other thing is index to be updated already has a value. If there is a conflict between the index, for example, if you're going to put a value, leader is asking you to set a value on index 4, but you already have a value on that index. So what you'll do is you'll update the value and everything that is after it, if it exists. So I think this case I explained here. So this one, like if you have this conflict of index, and then if leader asks you to put a value, you will put that value on that index, and if anything is after that, you remove it, because you want to match up with the leader. Because if leader is on this index, then you should also be on this index only, and you cannot be on other index. So if this point is clear.
Are we not using the data there and like removing logs that we?
Yeah, so for example, it was 2333, something like this, the state of S3. And leader asked me to put a value here, 4. So what I'll do is I'll remove this thing, the entire thing, and just will put 4 here.
If it is 333 is fine, but if it was like 356 and this writer has written up to 6 and now you are removing 2 values.
I think that's not a possible case, because 356, it has to go to majority, right? If this was 2356.
Also,
yeah, without leader saying, I think the followers won't write, right? Is that?
Yeah, and if it,
why.
and also if it was 2356 also, right? As long as these values are not committed, I don't think so there is any problem.
Okay, because it got these values because somebody has written to it, right? So you're saying how did a follower got some values which are not present with the leader?
Yeah, so this could happen that this was the leader first and it got these values, but it added these values, but it couldn't replicate on the other followers, right? Basically S2 and S1. Let's say this was the leader. Maybe I can explain it in much better way. So
I think I got it. I mean, like it was a leader before, so it got some values,
but it couldn't replicate. So it had this 356, but these all were in uncommitted state because it didn't get replicated, right? So it will be in uncommitted state. It will not be in committed state.
so the app would already know that these values are not written.
Yes, and this when it will come down, or for some reason this person, this another person become leader, and this it will get 4 as a request, and it will propagate that, and it will ask it to put 4. Now the term is higher, right? So it will have to step down and it will have to overwrite the value.
Okay. Yep.
Because this is from term 1, all these values.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks.
So, and the last part is, how do we decide on the commit index? So if leaders commit is greater than the commit index, then we always keep the minimum of leader commit and the index of the latest entry basically. Sorry.
So sorry, going back in the previous thing. So one thing I was thinking is, why don't we just remove the uncommitted entries if we know that they're not committed?
Yeah, good point. How will we know? Like these are all persisted values, right? You've already returned them in the entries. It's so the only thing you could do is override it or delete it. Uh, but like there will be some point in time we will have to decide whether to remove it and how to remove it. So that's the way we tell, okay, because you are not the leader anymore, or your entry is out of date in terms with others, then you override it. Like cannot think of any other way of.
So one reason I'm thinking is where uncommitted entry would be good and needs to be committed is, so let's say example of 3-node. So leader first sent a log request which is in uncommitted state to S2 and S3, and now leader got the response back and he has committed his data. And now before sending the other request, which is to commit the data, leader went down. So now S2 and S3 have data in uncommitted state, but that data has to be preserved because the leader has already sent to the client that this data has been kept by me. So in that case, S2 and S3 will see that their log indexes are at the same point. So now they have to commit this uncommitted data and they don't have to remove it.
I am not sure if that is going to happen. Like because if it will become if somebody will become a leader, then they'll have, oh, let me think through it. If S2 becomes a leader and then their value, the client will send a request, and yeah, I think, yeah, it's a possible case.
It's an edge case. Yeah, it's one of the edge cases. So I think it's a possibility, and possibility of losing that value. I don't know.
No, that's why we will not lose the value, because the
Value, yeah.
algorithm is not saying that always remove the uncommitted logs. It is saying that look at the logs of the leader, match the term and the log index, and see if they are
Oh,
at the
okay,
same
okay.
place.
Okay, okay.
Then keep those values.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it will never be lost. Okay, so next is after append entries, we have request vote, remote procedure call. This is very simple. Basically, what will happen is somebody will become candidate and it will increment the current term and it will vote for itself. And then it will ask for other fellow nodes that please give me vote. And if the votes are received from majority, then it will become leader and start sending the heartbeat, basically our append entries with empty log entries. And if the received a heartbeat from a different fellow node, that means that node has become leader before it could get the majority of vote, and it will step down and become a follower. And the third case that could be that they have a split vote and there is a timeout. So this is shown in this flow diagram. And now these are the arguments that are needed. So we need the term basically, and then candidate ID, who is requesting vote, and last log index. Last log index is the index of candidate's last log entry, and why this is important. So one possible scenario is that we have two candidates, S2 and S3, and let's assume that both timed out together and both are requesting for vote. But for S2, the log entries are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And for this, it is 0, 1, 0, 1. And the value is 3 and 4. Now S1 has to decide to vote, right? So S1 will always see that if S2 is updated or not. If S2 is not updated, then we should, if S2 is not updated, then it should not vote for it. But since S2 is updated, it will vote for it. But in case of S3, it will never vote for it because it is not an updated fellow node. So that's why this particular last log index is important. So it will always know that which is the more reliable node to make leader, because it's possible, right, that there is some node which has which is not updated but is trying to become a leader, and we would not want that to happen. And the result is basically the candidate who will receive the vote. So basically you return current term, and the implementation is if the term that is the implementation is basically if you get a term which is basically less than the current term, then you reply false, that I'm not going to vote for you because you're not in the current term. So this can happen in a scenario where someone was down, like I said, and it was basically some term 1. And when this was basically, let's say, the term 1 and term 3, in each log index, the term got changed. And this was from term 1 itself, and it didn't have this value. And it will request vote from S1, and it will say, okay, I am from term 1, and when it will increment, the value of term will be 2. But S1 will know that this is term 3, and this term is not an eligible term, and it is less than the current term going on. So it will reply false to it. Basically, I don't give vote to you. And the second thing is voted for. So this we already talked about. It is null if you don't vote for anyone, and it can be it can be the candidate ID, basically the candidate you voted for. Then these are like in general rule for all the states, like what will be the rule for all the servers, and then followers, and then candidates, and then leaders. So for all the servers, how will they decide what should be the commit index to the state machine? And then how should they respond and set the term? And for followers, it will be when to become candidate, and how to respond to the leaders, and how to respond to the candidates. And if election times out, without receiving the heartbeat, basically append entries, then either become a candidate or give a vote to a candidate. And in case of candidate, when you convert to a candidate, you start the election, you increase the current term, and then you vote for self. Basically, you do all these things that are given in this flow diagram, and then once you win the election, you send the heartbeat to the fellow nodes or follower nodes, or else if you don't receive the majority, you step down and become a follower. And if the election times out, you start the new election. And in case of leader, what will happen is initially the append entries will be empty, and even in the idle periods you are supposed to send those heartbeats so that nobody times out thinking that the leader has died. And if you receive a command from client, you're supposed to replicate those entries to your local log, and then to the follower nodes, and then apply that entry to state machine. And if the last log index is greater than next index for a follower, let me read this first. I forgot about it. Okay, so this is the similar thing, like it will help the follower to catch up. So if the next index is basically where we want the value to be replicated, but if the last log index is greater than next index for a follower, then we know that there is something out of sync, and we would want the follower to catch up. So we will, there is inconsistency. So we decrement the next index and retry, basically help the follower to catch up and get the values. But if this is not the case and everything is successful, we update the next index and we store match index value in order to tell, okay, this follower is matched up to me at this particular index. And the last one is, if there is some n which is greater than commit index value, and all of my nodes basically matches to that particular, their match index is greater than n, then we can say that you can set this commit index to that n value. So any doubts in the algorithm? I know it's too much. So many things together, basically. Hello?
Yes, so the last one is basically how the leaders update the latest commit index.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so then there are some properties of Raft, basically election safety, where they guarantee that at most one leader can be elected in a given term. So for sure, there will be at least one leader. And whenever then that is elected, it will be at only one and not more than that. Okay, and leader append only logs are basically that nobody, leader never modifies it or deletes its entries, it always appends it. So they use the append only logs. And log matching property is, if given a index, if the index is same and the term is same, then the logs it should be same. That is the log matching property. And leader completeness is, if a log entry is committed, then that entry will be present in the logs of the future leaders as well. So this goes by, for example, if there was leader 1 and it had entry up till index 5, then a second leader, and that is a committed index, the 5, then the second leader should also have at least up till 5, and it should follow after that. So that's how they make sure leader completeness. Then state machine safety. So state machine safety is when a leader has applied a log entry in an index and has executed it, the very same command, to the state machine. No other machine can apply a different command, basically. So I said that state machines are deterministic, and if the order is same, and if that is executed in a single machine, and if we execute the same commands to other machines, it will always be same. And that's how we make sure that it is state machine safety. So now I think the question for many people would be that if we are making these log append only, then how are we going to make sure that these log doesn't go out of bound? Basically, it doesn't grow to a very large level. So for that, Raft doesn't provide a value, but it lets you decide how you're going to do log compaction, and it suggests to do snapshot, and it's the work of the application server to basically, or the dev to basically create this logic on how they'll be creating the snapshot. So in this example, the log index before is from 1 to 7 is, as you can see, it's up till 7. And now we know what is the committed index. So if we say that the yellow is the committed part, then we can take the snapshot from 1 to 4, and 5, 6, 7 can still be in the logs. And if somebody has to catch up, for example, if a new, if the machine comes up and it was only updated until second index, then the leader Raft will ask the follower Raft that, hey, you go and get yourself updated first with the snapshot, and then it will install the snapshot on itself, and then it will come again back, and then leader will help the follower node to catch up with the rest of the log. So that's it. There is another concept called cluster membership. What happens in cluster membership is it takes care, what if one of the node we are bringing is new. So if we have a cluster of 3 and now we want to make the cluster of size 4, so we are bringing a new node, so we have to let that 4th node catch up, right? So how that's going to happen, that concept is called membership change, where following operations will happen. The first operation that will happen is the node will have to catch up with all the logs that has already happened, and then also, like, all the nodes should know about each other, because someday they are going to become leader. So for example, this was S1, S2, S3 and S4, and this is the new node which will join as a follower. So now what will happen is, and S1, let's say, is a leader. So S4 will come. The first thing is S4's IP address should be updated in S1, S2 and S3. So basically this configuration change we need, so that, you know, if S1 goes down, then if S2 becomes leader, it should know about the information on how to connect with S4. So that's one change. The other change would be, like, when we will decide that S4 is good to go, like S1, S2 and S3, that is joint consensus. So S1 will help S4 catch up first with, it will tell, okay, this is the snapshot and you should be able to replicate all these logs. Once S4 does that, then S4 can become a leader or can take part in other consensus. So that is cluster membership changes. Yeah, that's it. I don't think so, like, we have anything else left.
Okay, yeah, I think this was a wonderful session, Shreya. So I really appreciate you presenting this. And yeah, others, please feel free to share your feedback or ask questions. We have another 10 minutes or so. But like, yeah, it was really a great session. Like, it's kind of a deep dive into Raft and one of the consensus protocols. Like, if for others, like if it is new to you, you can, I think this session itself was definitely helpful, and you can always go and read back on your own. Any questions? Okay, I'll probably stop recording. Thank you, Shia. I mean, like, this was definitely a great session, and this was I learned it as well.
Yeah, this was my first session actually. So yeah,
Yeah. You really have good presenting skills. You should do more often.
Oh, thank you.